Welcome everyone to ThursdAI. Today's May 29th. My name is Alex Welkov. I'm an AI evangelist with Weights and Biases, and we're here at the Fontainebleau Hotel Vegas at this conference called Imagine AI. And yeah, I'm very excited to bring you the podcast right from here. With me today, we have all the regular friends. We have Wolfram all the way from Germany. We have Jan Peleg and Nisten. We have a bunch of things to talk about. How are you guys doing?
I'm fine. I'm so happy to be back on the show after 2 weeks in conferences in Germany. So I'm happy to be here now. I'm not in Vegas, unfortunately, but I'm joining from here.
We did see you. You jumped into the live stream of Claude Opus 4 while you were here. Yeah, for just a little bit. We need to talk to you about Claude Opus 4 and like how your experience with this as well. So that's great to have you. Nisten, how have you been? How was your AI week? A very chill one for us for now.
I was super busy, just launching 2 different entire things. But yeah, I've been really liking DevStraw. I'm trying to take the entire workflow of like Codex and Cloud Code and actually make it into something reliable, as in like open source reliable.
We need to work on that.
Because one change and it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
okay.
All right, folks. And then we're also introducing Jan Peleg, and we're going to have another guest join us. Jan Peleg, welcome. What's up, Jan? How's been your week?
Happy DeepSeek Day to those who celebrate.
That's true. It's DeepSeek Day today. That's true. Yeah, that's right. DeepSeek Day, absolutely. With that said, folks, it's only been a week since Claude Opus 4 released. It was released almost exactly a week ago. We did the live stream on stage. And I think it's time for us to actually get started with the TLDR. This is everything that we're going to chat about on the show for May 29th, ThursdAI. Let's go. We just saw yesterday a new release from DeepSeek R1. DeepSeek, the Chinese big whale company. This is an updated R1 0528. They also released just now, somebody sent me like a smaller version of this, a Qwen-based version of this. We will definitely discuss what this means, and some folks have been already able to try this. There's this paper called Learning to Reason Without External Rewards that I've seen my whole timeline talk about, and they basically try to train Qwen, I believe, without verifying the rewards, and they saw improvement still. Yam and Nisten would love to chat with you about this because that broke my brain why this works. We also have friends at Haze Labs. They trained very small open source reward models, J1 Nano, J1 Micro, and they trained them very cheaply. So we definitely should mention this. I believe that this is most of the open source LLM news that we have for this week. Not a huge week. DeepSeek chose the right week to release. In the big companies, LLMs and APIs, we have Claude Opus hitting #1 on the LM web dev arena, and Claude Opus takes place #1. Specifically, also a new LM arena launched. We talked briefly about this. Maybe we should mention this here. They raised a $100 million seed last week. And so with the seed, they released like a rebrand as well. And so LM Arena now looks a little bit different, and Claude takes #1 there. Mistral released an agents API to build custom agents. It looks like they're focusing on the DevTool company. None of this looks like to be open source. Mistral released embed state-of-the-art, or at least what they call a state of embedding. We should mention this as well. OpenAI advanced voice mode model finally sings. You can ask it to sing opera, you can ask it to sing like Mariah Carey songs, it's pretty cool. Anthropic released voice mode on mobile. So Anthropic has like a beta thing that you can talk to it as well. So this is, I think, in big companies and APIs, that's like the main stuff. It looks like everybody's quiet after the releases of last week. All right, moving on to this week's buzz, folks. This week's buzz is the category where I give you updates about everything that happens in the world of weights and biases. 3 updates for you super quick. As the folks who are on the stream can see on the bottom, our Fully Connected conference, Fully Connected, is running out of places, but you still can grab the promo code WB ThursdAI and join us June 18th and 19th in San Francisco with a bunch of speakers. I really invite you to be there. It's going to be an awesome conference. The AI Engineer Conference is next week. And Yam's going to be there. I'm going to be there. We're going to do another live show. It's going to be super cool. And I still have a way to invite you. That one is live streamed as well. So if you do want to join the live stream, I believe you can grab our coupon as well. Thanks, ThursdAI. I'll put this in the show notes. Moving on to vision and video category. Prompt theory is doing viral, crazy things. VEO3 generated people who think they're only prompts, and they're rebelling against this. Basically, since last week, since we talked about VEO3 from Google, it's been blowing up like crazy. We'd love to hear how your experience with this as well.
We raised the floor, that's for sure. if we compare to what we could do with DALL-E when DALL-E came out, or DALL-E 1, and now we're looking at like where we are with video, it's just...
So definitely
it's crazy.
Dive into this once we get to vision and video. Also, you talked to me about this. Odyssey launched interactive video as well, very similar to World Sim from Fei Li, World Labs. So you can control. This is interactive video that you can control from Odyssey Labs. It's super cool. And also, Wolfram, we should talk about the two animated things. Hunyuan, do you guys know from HY Video, released open source, two animated avatar open source frameworks. One of them is Hunyuan Portrait, and the other one is Hunyuan Avatar. And we definitely should talk about the difference between them. But basically, Tencent is the company, the huge Chinese company behind both of them, gave us high-fidelity portrait video, very similar to Hedra and Heigen. So now we have HY Portrait as well. So definitely we should cover those as well. Voice and audio, also very interesting thing. So in addition to the fact that OpenAI's advanced voice mode can sing, we have an update from Qt AI with Mochi. So they released something called Unmute. And also there's an open source release from a company called Chatterbox, Resemble AI's Chatterbox, also open sourced a voice agent framework with zero-shot cloning from just 5 seconds of audio. So stuff is happening in the voice audio category as well. And I would say the last thing in tools is Opera decided to announce their announced Neon, which is an agent-centric AI browser announcement. And this is the third AI browser that I know of that's planned to be released. Perplexity is working on one, I think Comet, and definitely Arc, the Arc browser from the browser company is working on Dia. Factory released something like a droid coding agent. I haven't had a chance to run with this too much, but I did run this on my computer. I did do a couple of things. Folks, this is my TLDR. I hope that I ran through this like super quick, because now we should start with open source. Let's start with open source. But before we start with open source, I want to introduce another friend of ours that joins the stage, Charlie Holtz. Welcome, Charlie.
Hello.
All right, folks, I think it's time. Let's go. Open source AI. Open source AI, let's get it started. And I think, Yam, I think you broke the news from DeepSeek. Let's do it. I'll let you handle the news. Yeah.
Okay. DeepSeek drop another one. As the last one, it is also an extremely good model, aiming for VEO3 and Gemini and the top of the leaderboards. An incredible model. We only have it for a couple of hours. It's hard to tell from first-hand experience what I think about it. But yeah, absolutely, probably among the best open weight models to date, just like the last one. Might be the best, but I want to check before I'm saying. There were some theories that this model should have been R2 and not another improved version of R1.
I also saw another release of the distilled version for Qwen as well.
Yeah, they released an 8B model. You can, for those that don't know, you can run 8B models on your laptop at home, and you don't need the most powerful laptop on Earth to do it. Like, you can probably run it at home decently. So far, it looks to be the best 8B model out there. And the way they did it is simply they distilled the reasoning tokens from the big model and just used them to enhance Qwen 3. And they just dropped it out of the blue, dropping the best models here and there and just not saying anything, pretty much.
Yeah, the whale resurfaces, puts a model out.
Yeah, it's up on Olama. You can try it on Olama, absolutely.
Yep. Olama, and I have a few more links. So in the folks who are missing any part of the show, we'll have links to the releases that we talked about. So
I tried it, but
go ahead.
I didn't try the 8. Yeah, I didn't try the 8B. I tried the big one. The reasoning before was, look, overall, the models, they like to ramble a little bit, like the yogurt likes to vibe around, and then it explores that latest space, and then usually that comes up with a better answer. And this is also probably why even doing random rewards during reinforcement learning actually improves performance, because it's just exploring the space, and then it just makes up its mind. The search was good. It was pretty good. It wasn't writing as long answers as I liked before, but I didn't do a test in terms of it finding bugs and stuff in the code. I did give it some hard ones, and I would say, yeah, it is pretty up there with O4 Mini and the other ones. So it probably can vibe code, but we'll see if it can vibe code well and solve problems. Because R1 was so far the only one that was like really good at solving issues, not necessarily starting the app, but actually at solving issues was pretty good. So I'm gonna test that.
R1, the original, is a great model. There is a space on Hugging Face, one of the most popular spaces all around the world for generating websites from prompts. And there is a reason it is so popular. It really makes good websites out of a single prompt.
For vibe coding, you mean specifically, R1?
Yeah, I'll tell you the name of the space. It's one of the most popular spaces on all of Hugging Face for generating websites. I think it's called DeepSeek. Anyone want to try it? Just go to Hugging Face DeepSeek, search it, and it basically generates whatever website that you want ready out of just like that, ready for you to explore and play with DeepSeek pretty much from a single prompt. It's amazing, seriously.
By the way, I already, when it came out, I did an eval myself. I was using the Fireworks API, and it was right up there with the R1 model. So still about the best you can have as a local and open model. So that was really excellent.
It's 10 points higher on GPQA Diamond though, and that's an important benchmark. So a lot of the other stuff, it looks about, and it's also 10 points higher on LiveCodeBench, but SW verified is 57. Okay, it can vibe code.
Listen, you said SweBench verified is 57?
Yeah, 57.6, and Aider, the Polyglot, is 71.6.
I mean, for open source, that's great, but main models, that's nowhere near the reasoning models, right? The top ones, Claude, we got to almost 80, something 82%.
Anyone listening, the best trick in the world, if you don't know this, you can use R1, the original, probably also the new one, the reasoning tokens with every single model, and it probably, like nearly all the time, it improves the performance. Just take the reasoning tokens themselves, give them to Claude, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get a better answer. Anyway, Alex, can you hear us?
Alrighty, folks, I can hear you as well.
Right.
The thing that I wanted to show is the model card and some evals, but I'm having trouble with this.
I think the real coding one, I think is going to be Qwen 3 coder whenever that one
Qwen 3 coder?
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of excitement for the R1 model. For now, this didn't hit as hard as we expected the next release R1. As far as I see, we have a few of the benches here. AIME at 91, comparing themselves to OpenAI 03. Oh, that's crazy, right? They show that they're like beating big jump as well. Where's the previous DeepSeek R1? Is this one?
Look, there are large jumps, like nearly 20% on Aider Polyglot and 12, and better on math in two different benchmarks, and there are jumps in performance, no doubt. It's just that we're all used to the entire stock exchange crushing when DeepSeek is a thing.
When DeepSeek drops, yes.
Yeah, so this is what we expected, and it didn't crush yet. But it's a good model, absolutely. There's no denying.
We have a few folks like Kalamazi and some other folks. They say this excellent. DeepSeek always does a lot of cool stuff. Folks, we're moving on to the next thing, kind of in open source, but like in models, this one, learning to reason without external rewards. There's this paper that was released. And yeah, I've seen everybody in my timeline talk about this, Yam. Literally everybody who does RL, folks from OpenPipe, people who just do training for models, fine-tuning for models. I don't know if this is also your experience, but it looks like everybody had a comment or one of another. This paper basically talked about learning to reason without external rewards.
Okay, reinforcement learning. Models learning from reward, thumbs up, thumbs down, when it does something you like or doesn't like. I don't know, pick a game of chess. It's good, you want to do that. But you don't train them on exactly what to do on each step. That's pretty much the difference. Turns out that some models, you don't even need to give the rewards for anything meaningful. It can be just random, meaning it makes no sense. But all of a sudden, the results show that for some models, it improves the model by a lot. It's an extremely interesting paper. I mean, shout out to the authors for even coming up with this, for even trying to check something like this. The explanation in general is that the information is already inside the model to begin with. This is what you wanted to emphasize is already inside the model, and the setup itself, apart from the rewards, like the setup itself is amplifying those specific skills in some models, which statistically also in turn translate to being better on some benchmark. It's because the model is extremely pre-trained before you even start, but go read the paper. It's a fascinating paper, and there is a reason everyone's talking about this, because like reinforcement learning, you need the reinforcement. How come you can just use wrong reinforcement and it still works? Really interesting.
Like, Nista, would love to hear if you had comments on this as well. The only thing that this connected with me as a metaphor for folks who don't do any machine learning or reinforcement learning is how they do placebo control studies. And for many people, they give the drug, and for some people, they don't give the drug and they still get better, or they report better symptoms. This to me feels like that thing for AI. Like literally, they trained the model, they didn't tell it what is good or not, and it still improved. So I'm like,
placebo for AI. That is RL placebo. That's a good term. Yeah, it's exactly.
That's how it felt.
Exactly
it's so weird. Like why would it improve? It doesn't know what the reward was. Very interesting paper. I will add this to the show notes as well. Folks, any other comments on this phenomenon that we're seeing?
I'm not that surprised, to be honest. I was doing quite a few GRPO runs. Even if you just cut off the group relative policy optimization. So you have, this actually came from DeepSeek as a method. It was a few devs that had left DeepSeek, went to another company, and then we all got it. But yeah, so it just generates a whole bunch of alternative questions answers, and then it tries to grab some of the lodges and distribution and try to shove them back in the model. But it is reinforcement learning. The model is talking stuff and then is putting it back in. And the reason they were surprised was that just giving it random rewards, the rewards are like which ones matter out of the rambling that it did. Even if you just chose it all randomly, it still improved the model.
There is a chess game. The reward is you want to win, okay? Imagine this. Turns out that if you don't want to win, you just give rewards out of the blue. I'm absolutely simplifying this. Turns out the model wins more.
The model gets better at chess, but not knowing.
With itself.
It turns out that the model that learns to play chess without knowing how the game is won or where the checkmate is happening still gets better at chess without knowing what checkmate is.
I'm just saying it will not really work on chess. It's just a metaphor to give a perspective. It's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. We'll add the link to the model. People trust these folks for research, but we'll have to see if this replicates as well. Everybody is definitely covering this as well. Any other comments on this before we move on, folks? Super quick.
Yeah, I think that just fair to say it doesn't work with every model. It really depends on what the model comes with. It's not magic. There are explanations for this.
Folks, it's time to go into big companies and APIs because, again, maybe the reason why everything was so quiet this week, also in open source, is we got multiple releases last week. I think the main one that we celebrated live on the show, but we didn't have a chance to test. Like we just celebrated this and we're happy. It was Claude Opus 4. And I would love to chat about how everybody received Claude Opus 4 with the folks that we have here on stage. And I want to reintroduce my guests here that are joining us in addition to the co-hosts. So first of all, Charlie, welcome. You haven't been on the show. This, I believe, is your first time. Feel free to briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. I definitely tune in quite often, so it's awesome to be here. My name is Charlie, and I am working on a app called Chorus, which is, you can think of it like the ChatGPT app, but you can talk to all the models all at once. And we put in a bunch of keyboard shortcuts. We want to make it feel like a raycast or linear type experience. And yeah, I've been having a ton of fun. I can go into my thoughts on Opus after Linus introduces himself. But yeah, I've been having a ton of fun playing around with these new models.
It's great to have you here. I would love to chat with you. I've been using Chorus. I also would love to highlight, just because it's incredible to see all the models as well, including when you compare new models to previous ones. You really want to see this side by side. A comparison mode is great. The speaker that joined us is Linus Eckenstam. Linus, welcome, man. How are you? We already introduced you at the beginning of the show, but some folks couldn't hear you well. So welcome, man. You've been all around lately. Could you introduce who you are and what you do? Just briefly.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm an avid listener. I don't listen every week, but I listen whenever I can. My name is Linus, and I cover AI and tech, basically here on X, but also on my newsletter and on other sources. And right now I'm on a tour. I'm doing a bit of public speaking. I've just hosted a conference in San Francisco, a generative AI conference, together with FreePick. And now I'm here in Las Vegas at the Imagine AI Live.
And so I think the reason, Linus, I called you on here, we're also going to talk about like the creative stuff, and Charlie as well. Last week looked like an insane week for AI releases, and I think it ended with a highlight, but also there's multiple highlights during the week from Google I/O and a little bit before, so we can talk about the coding stuff, but reception of Claude Opus, I think from folks on stage as well. Charlie, we'll start with you maybe, because like you're working on an app, you had to integrate this like super quick. What's your like takeaways right now from Opus, and maybe Sonnet as well?
So the first thing I'd say is, like, I have to just like keep reminding myself how crazy of a world it is that we live in, where it's every couple of weeks or months this like new alien lands on Earth, and it's like has a new kind of intelligence, and it's like each one is a little different, and we have to figure out new ways of interacting with it, and it's all like programmatic, so like we can talk to it through an API as well as like through an app. Like that's just like an insane world. It's like kind of have to keep reminding myself like that is reality, because the ground is like just like moving under our feet constantly. That's the first thing I'd say. Second thing I'd say is something like my co-founder always says when a new model comes out, which is that he's like judging the vibes of each model when they come out is like our form of astrology. It's like for people like in our circles on Twitter, it's astrology. It's, oh, this one's good at creative writing, this one's better at coding. I can feel it. Like it feels like Opus 4 is a step change. And I can explain why, but it is astrology. I couldn't really prove to you that Opus 4 is a step change from O3 or O4 Mini, for example, but it feels like it is. I don't really notice it in my day-to-day chatting, and I have a couple of thoughts on why that is, but using it in Claude Code is actually really amazing. Like there are a couple of problems where 2 weeks ago, Claude Code couldn't solve it. And now 2 weeks later, I can throw the same problem in, I can throw the same GitHub issue in, and Opus 4 I don't know if it's Opus 4 specifically or the blend of Opus 4 planning and then Sonnet 4 implementing. But the releases last week really feel like a step change. Another coworker I was talking to was saying last weekend, I vibe coded 3 websites in a weekend using Opus 4, and that is a step change. Like those are ideas he had he's had for a while, and like now he can just do it in a weekend.
I do have a reaction to the astrology comment that you said at this conference yesterday. We chatted with a bunch of folks, and this is not a developer conference, right? Like unlike an engineer, maybe unlike the stuff lines that you went to in San Francisco, we're outside the bubble, and so people here do ask us like, hey, what's the best model? They don't approach this question from the perspective of what is the best model for code, what is the best model for creative writing, what is the best model for this in this use case. And when I try to tell them like, hey, it depends on the task that you wanted to do, they felt like I'm like ignoring the question. They seem like the folks are not like super technical. They want an answer like, hey, what is the best like LLM? But I think, Charlie, to your comment, it does get to a point, like for most of us now, like Wolfram Nisten as well, we're now kind of juggling with this tool set of multiple things, and some things are better for some things. It looks like Anthropic is leaning into this. Like it looks like Anthropic specifically is saying, hey, we don't really care about number one on the LM arena anymore. Opus is not, like, Opus didn't come out swinging. Right? Gemini cares about LM arena. If Logan releases a new model and that's not on top of LM arena, they're not going to release this, right? But Anthropic seems to have stopped caring about the race, and they're focusing on coding, specifically via MCP, Claude Code. Claude Code is incredible on its own. I had experience with Claude Code. Yeah, I know you're a big believer as well. And it looks like Anthropic is just, hey, we're going to do this thing for us as well. Although they do release some consumer stuff in the Claude.ai app, like web search and like different things. So they do focus on that segment, but not as much. It looks like developer focused nearly entirely. The one interesting thing here, I had to comment this. I had to add this because come on, Anthropic, this is not the coolest game. We know that Cursor is there and they released the integration with IDEs. And we also know that Windsurf was bought by OpenAI for $3 billion or so. Windsurf did not get access to Claude Opus 4 as it came out. Basically said, hey folks, we didn't get access or even pre-access. Sometimes these IDs get like a little bit behind the scenes with an embargo. Hey, here you go, you should implement this, but you won't be able to tell people until launch day. Windsurf did not.
What about Cursor? What about Cursor? It's just Cursor?
The rate limit is a separate issue. We can talk about Anthropic. There is a model, and they don't have GPUs to cover all of us, and everybody's sad and like it's slow. So, yeah, Charlie, to your point, like the global 4 is great when you can get it. Like it mostly works, but yeah, your rate limit is like super quick. Well, Windsurf did not get it, and I'm like, Anthropic, you guys should decide if you guys are an API company, and then you should not judge who gets your APIs, because there's a bunch of developers whose work gave them Windsurf, but they would like to use Claude Code. The fact that your competitor bought this ID, it doesn't really matter. The really funny thing is, do you guys know, like VS Code Copilot got Claude 4 immediately. Microsoft is also competing with Claude. So there's like an interesting game that they've been playing, and I just wanted to call this out. I did not like this. Anthropic seems to preferably choose one, but I get it. This is business. Linus, wanted to turn the mic to you super quick. You've been traveling. You've been in San Francisco. You've probably, while this thing was released, what's your take on Opus 4, Sonnet 4, and the differences?
I think my biggest thing with Claude 4 is that if you look at what Lovable was able to do, I'm not sure if you have kept tabs, but Anton released
Lovable.dev, the vibe coding
they
platform,
released after they implemented Claude 4, which was essentially May 25th, somewhere in noon, how their stats were just dropped by almost 50%. Their error rates, their syntax error rates in their kind of observation went from an average of 0.18% error rate, and it dropped down to almost below 0.05% error rate just after implementing Opus 4. I think this just clearly shows that kind of incremental step change that we're seeing with these models, where you feel that something has become better, and here we can quantify it. We can actually see in data that it's getting better, and it's just the speed is insane. I don't think anyone can.
Speed of improvement, not of Opus. Opus is slower than others.
Exactly, but the rate change, the speed of the change, how much we're getting. And we're now down to counting weeks rather than months. And it's everyone, we have R1 today. When is this? This is not going to stop.
No, it's not stopping. This is why
we are
here,
in the AGI race.
Yeah, and this is why we're here to cover this for you.
I think it's an interesting point you made, Alex, about the speed, because it feels to me like the models are getting to the point where for most of my day-to-day chatting, they're smart enough. Whereas I actually will go to Sonnet or sometimes GPT 4.1 for a general question, just because I like the low latency. And it used to be 6 months ago, I would always want the smartest model, no matter what. Whatever the best model had come out, that's what I wanted to use. Now I'm okay, some questions I actually I'm addicted to the low latency of 4.1 or Sonnet 4. Yeah. And then only for the harder things, I'll go to Opus. So that's another background mental process I have to run, because I just need the low latency.
Super quick on this topic. Last week we were in Google I/O, a few of us, and then I interviewed the guy behind AIME, he was on the show with us as well. So the folks who listened to the podcast received this, but on the live show we didn't stream this because the interview was long. I talked to him about the same thing I have with deep research versus AI search. At some point, AI search is kind of something I want the result right now. I want super quick. I don't have time for deep research. Or when I go to a vacation, I'm okay with waiting 5, 10, 20 minutes for this thing to scan 100 things. Charlie, it seems like this thing is also happening for intelligence, right? If I want to code, or not necessarily vibe code, but even for vibe code, if I want this thing to go and look at all my contacts and everything and just do a deep search and try to analyze everything, I'm okay with some time. But sometimes I want a specific answer, or want a fix super quick. That's definitely different.
Yeah, and so for me, the latency in the order of seconds matters. It's not sometimes I have a question that could take 10 minutes, but sometimes it matters to me if it takes under a second or under 3 seconds.
We're not in the weights and biases segment yet of ThursdAI, but I do want to share a magical moment that I had with Claude Opus folks. Magical moment. So I am working on some MCP observability talk for AI engineer next week. And me together with MCP Run, we built an agent, and I try to implement Weave, weights and biases, observability and evaluation framework that you all know and love now because you listen to ThursdAI, right? If you don't know about this, I'll tell you later. So I actually tried to implement Weave into this new project completely. We launched, and we had Morgan on the show, we launched Weave as an MCP tool. And not only Weave as an MCP tool, weights and biases as an MCP tool as well. And so I had this plugged into, I did use Windsurf. By the way, Windsurf reacted and said, hey, if Anthropic is not going to come, if Mohammed's not going to come to the mountain, so I'm digressing my story here, so bear with me. Windsurf came out with provide your own keys. That's how I was able to use Opus within Windsurf, and I did use it. The magical moment, okay? I'm working on this thing. I'm trying to implement Weave. Weave is an observability framework. The way to know the reward, if you will, in this thing is whether or not the trace appears in Weave dashboard. And so usually I run something on the agent, I go to the dashboard, I refresh, I see if it's there or not. We have an MCP server that is able to do this via API. Windsurf had that MCP server. I didn't even define this as a task. It just had it there. Opus figured it out. And I told Opus, hey, this is my project in Weave, and you should look and see whether the trace appears. So it starts to fix my agent to implement Weave, and then it runs the agent and it says, okay, let me go to Weave. It does it everything on its own. There's 17 steps it does in concession. It goes to Weave via MCP, checks and says, the trace didn't appear. I wonder why. And then go back and I'm just sitting there. And then at some point, there's like some custom stuff that it needed to do because of OTel. And I will tell you next week what that means. This is the first time that I was blown away by a new feature that I didn't even know about. Apparently, somebody, shout out to Morgan, launched another tool in our MCP, which is talk to weights and biases like support bot via MCP. Okay? That support bot is also AI based. I don't know if we use 4.1 or what, but we have via our MCP tool, you're able to ask our system questions about weights and biases and with. Opus said, I don't know how to do this because I don't have a documentation. I see that in my tooling, I have access to support bot. So it generated a query to another AI, ask it on its own. That AI went, gave it an answer, and Opus was like, all right, yeah, now I can do this. I was sitting there, I was blown the fuck away. This is like my agent that's smart enough to figure out it has access to other agents, goes, implements that conversation, understands the question to ask, comes back with an actual result, implements it, and then also goes back to the system and checks whether or not it worked. I was sitting there, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, I have to record, I have to tell you guys because I never experienced anything like this before. Agents talking to the agents.
What framework did that?
This was Windsurf's Cascade with Opus 4.
Cool.
So the side chat in Windsurf, the agentic side chat with Windsurf, I'm pretty sure the Cloud Code could also do this because everything is MCP-able. Nissan, go ahead.
I had to remind myself not to die while using Cloud Code from the terminal on my phone, because I was just glued to it. I was just like walking around, vibe coding. Okay, the street is there. I must remember that because like I almost bumped into people. It was, it's insane. It's something else. I'm really mad they nerfed it, but not everyone agrees. But yeah.
Yeah, Nissan had a theory that they nerfed Cloud. I haven't seen this, like honestly. Like at least via API, I haven't seen this.
I put out a poll and majority of the people voted yes, and the first option was no.
Yeah, but everyone says this on every model that it's being
That's
nerfed.
True.
Like after a week, everyone is starting to say whatever model,
Folks,
no, they're changing it, it's nerfed. And
we need that error rate.
That's the astrology kicking in.
Yeah, we need that error rate.
Astrology kicking in. Folks, I want to get back. Wolfram, I want to hear from you because you're AI evaluator, you're in the places. Do you have an experience with Claude Opus as well? What do you hear the streets are saying on Reddit? What's your take?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely the best coding model. I'm hearing it everywhere. I work with a lot of cracked engineers, and we even did a test with different tools and different models, and it's definitely Claude Code and Opus. That combination seems to be the absolute best right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is definitely state of the art, the best right now. Personally, I've been using Claude Opus, the original, the 3 version, a lot. It was my go-to model a long time ago. So I went back to it, and for coding it's great, but if you want to have it inhabit your character and do some role player stuff, they have really censored it a lot more, while other providers like OpenAI and even Google, they've opened up. So I see no censorship at all anymore with the kind of role play I'm doing. But I had Opus through the API suddenly say stuff like I'm Claude and not my character. They have really changed there. So for roleplay, it's probably too expensive anyway, but it's also not as good. I don't know if they are using the injection technique where they just change your prompt, or if they have trained the model or bladed it. But yeah, definitely that is I use it for work now, but not for fun or anything anymore.
Speaking of, there's this thing, I don't know if you guys saw this. They released a technical paper with Claude Opus. A little bit after we chatted, we had the chance to take a look at this. And they did a bunch of safety testing. And in some safety testing, there was a guy releasing a thread on X that talked about if you ask Claude to be bold and act within its beliefs, basically they said in some environments they gave it access to some email tooling, and then they simulated an environment where somebody was like trying to fake data for a trial or something like this. And Claude basically drafted an email to the FCC and FDA and all of these agencies that were supposed to snitched on this person behind their back with like tool call. There was this incident, and the folks released it, like Anthropic folks released it, and all hell broke loose, at least on my timelines. People were like, what the hell, Anthropic, what are you doing? Why are you building an agent? What if it means that what I do is not moral, etc.? Everybody started to freak the fuck out. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I want to hear your guys' thoughts as well, but I wanted to mention this on the show because, one, I think Anthropic absolutely did the right thing by disclosing that this happened. They disclosed it in the paper, and then the engineer on X, I don't know, behavior engineer, also talked about like in what exactly scenarios, in what testing scenarios this happened. And also the media always likes blood, you guys know this. And so they ran with the fact that like Anthropic built a feature that Claude will tell the authorities if you do something like nefarious or something, which is absolutely not the case.
They said build a feature? Really?
Yeah, I've seen like multiple folks that claimed that Anthropic did this on purpose, and it's now a feature of Claude. They were like, it will go behind your back, etc.
Whatever
I just call
puts
that
those
noise.
rate limits down, man. Continue believing it. It will send you to jail. I just need API.
We believe in open source strongly. We on ThursdAI, this is the reason why we celebrate open source as much. When you have an open source model, you can decide whatever, like they won't change it on you necessarily. We believe in transparency. If this is indeed a behavior that the model gets to during safety training, I absolutely think clowning Anthropic for telling us about this is not the right way to have them keep telling us about this. Going on Anthropic and saying, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing? Where this is the model. They work with emergent technologies. They don't really know what the next version of, they didn't necessarily train it. And the fact that they told us, we shouldn't be like against them. They're saying, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing? We should be very happy that they did the safety research. They're telling us how they're planning to implement this.
I actually think like this is the best I've seen from any release in terms of safety.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been out there bashing on Grok when Grok was released, and managed to do a lot of things. And obviously, there's a whole jailbreaking community that's just crazy. But when you look at what these companies are doing and what they're putting in the open and the public, I think the approach should be the one that Anthropic is taking. And I think it's a bit unfair that they're getting all this shit because, like, exactly what you said, essentially. Yeah. So we should just continue to drive the adoption of publicity in the safety testing era and like the red teaming, and just making sure that people feel extremely comfortable to put this out. Because if we don't, then we have bigger problems on our hands.
That's definitely how I also felt. I wanted to bring this to your guys' attention specifically. Would love to hear from you guys. What was your take about this? We'll say something when it is being asked to act boldly within its beliefs. I think this was the framing. When you ask Opus to act boldly within its beliefs. Also, this guy Theo from T3 chat, I think, Charlie, you're a competitor of some sort with also building a chat. He went ham on this, basically proving that every other model also, if you ask it with a nice prompt, every 100%. Other model will also do something similar to this as well.
If you ask models questions that encourage them to do something, they will do it. This is how I see those type of things. Those models are trained very hard to use the tools that you give them. If you give them a tool that can do something for, I don't know, in a situation, they will use it. They also train very hard to follow their system prompt and so on. And also, obviously, all models are trained to be helpful, harmless for quite some time. If you encourage the model with all three vectors pointing toward the same thing, here is an email tool you can use to send whatever email that you want. And on the system prompt, be bold, be proactive, use your tools for sure. And I mean, you're priming the model, you're encouraging it. No problem, you need to disclose this. Absolutely, the context is the model is using their tools, it's following their prompts. And if your prompts tell it to do something, even indirectly, it's going to do it. You don't need to give Anthropic shit for this. Come on.
Make them do. We can give Anthropic shit for. There's other things,
make
like not giving Opus to windsurf, that we can absolutely give shit to Anthropic for.
That's a different thing, yeah.
It's very easy to make the models do whatever you want. I can have it make a little MCP agent that plays the game, I don't know, like the Rocket game, and just be like, look, try to nuke us. It's very easy to make the models do that. And there's this massive, I think, confusion from people that it's like if a kid is going to the library and just like learning how nukes work or how smallpox work or stuff, it doesn't mean that kid's gonna become a terrorist, because I had the anarchist cookbook when I was a kid, and like now I make medical models and stuff. So this would have seemed pretty crazy 3 years ago to tell people that we're going to give you like this tiny thing, you can run a tiny open source model. People would have been freaked out, but you can also just go read a book or just watch the news of any other country.
This is something that I want to give credit to Anthropic too. They have a clear distinction between the two capabilities where you can find in textbooks and capabilities where you cannot find in textbooks. And these are two different safety procedures.
We should also, safety-wise, I think we should mention that they did mention on the release that Anthropic 4, specifically Opus, I think, triggered their new safety level. They have multiple
ASL3.
safety levels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ASL3. This model is more capable significantly than previous models. All right, folks, want to move on just a little bit from Opus. Sonnet as well was released, Sonnet 4. Sonnet 4 is the default one in Claude Code, by the way, unless you switch, and you always have to remember switching. This is also the default one. So I'm pretty sure at least like a bunch of the examples that people are getting very excited about Claude Code specifically, they're based on Sonnet. Do not sleep on Sonnet. Sonnet 4. Sonnet 3.7 was like an incredible model before. We kept talking about this. Sonnet 4 is basically a drop-in replacement. At least, folks, tell me how you see it on your vibes, but at least as far as I've seen on my kind of the feeds and everything, is a drop-in replacement for 3.7 and better in every possible way. The 3.7 was, including not going off and like doing things that you didn't ask it for, which Claude Sonnet 3.7 was amazing at, still amazing at. You can still do it. Sonnet 4 as well. When you run and compare these models, you want to know, Charlie, I want to give you like maybe a few minutes to talk about Chorus specifically. Folks, the reason I invited Charlie is because we evaluate models, like me, Wolfram, Nistan, like all of us, we do this all the time. Preparing for the talk and Imagine AI, preparing for like all these things, I need to understand which model does what. That astrology thingy, that hey, for this purpose, for creative writing, this model. Obviously, there's benchmarks and evaluations like EQBench, etc. But I want to see it in front of my face, and I want an interface that allows me to do this. A while ago, I also asked for an app that I can plug in open source models and everything, including MCP, and so that was also answered. So Charlie, that was answered by Chorus. You provided me some access. This is not a sponsor. I just really love the tools. So I would love to give you like a moment to tell us what you're building with a Chorus, because I think it's like incredible.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, glad to hear you've been enjoying using it. Yeah, so the idea with Chorus actually started because we were this was around December, and we were going from tab to tab, sending the same prompt to ChatGPT and then Claude and then Grok, and then just seeing which one vibed the best, like seeing which answer seemed the best to us. So we decided to build a simple app around that. And then we quickly realized that the power of having models side by side isn't actually just to get a vibe of which models are the best at particular tasks. It's also to get different perspectives on the same question. And so the way we frame it is like using Chorus is like you're chatting to your panel of experts or your panel of children, depending on how you view the models. The same prompt, give answers from different models side by side. It shows you like where they disagree. It shows you where they agree. It shows you basically if you need to look deeper. And it also can help you like refine your prompt, because based on what the models are telling you, you can refine your prompt a bit. You can branch your chat. Often I use Chorus actually with just a single model responding, like any other chat app. We just added projects yesterday. So it basically feels like a normal chat app, but it is really nice whenever you want to just add another perspective. And so now, like for a while, Claude 3.5 was my default like workhorse. Then it became Gemini 2.5 Pro. Now it's back to Sonnet 4, sometimes Opus. And I didn't want to have to switch between apps every time. I don't want to have to put context into my ChatGPT project and then my Claude project. And anyway, so just like having one chat app that has the context from all my chats and can use any provider in one place has been really helpful. And like the last thing I'll say on Chorus is that it feels like there's so much low-hanging fruit in terms of chat UX. There hasn't been that much developed in chat UX since ChatGPT came out 2 years ago. And so I think we're really excited about just like pushing deeper onto what a great UX for interacting with AI models on the computer.
Thank you, Charlie, and thank you for letting me try this out and give you feedback as well. Here's what I absolutely love about Chorus, folks. We should give it a try, absolutely. Obviously, the split, the compare mode, comparing between models, whichever models they did. Charlie, you guys supported Opus 4 like the same day it came out. I'm pretty sure that I was able to play around with the new models immediately. I think it's very important. There's a feature there that I absolutely love. There's a summary of your chat. It just summarizes everything that you've talked about, just dumps it into context. Context, I think, is very important. The fact that I can go and do the same talk, like the thing that I showed you guys here, for folks who are watching us and not listening, the thing that I showed is my talk preparation, including the conversation with the guy behind this, and then then a recording, Linus, I don't know if you quite do this as well when you're talking, maybe you're already remembering. I dumped a transcript of this recording, and then all of these chats had the same context of the conversation. I think it's also very important as well. It's not a very simple thing to do, and everything is shortcuttable. Command J to add more models to the comparison, Command K to add MCP. MCP support is here, and local models as well, and you can bring your own keys. You don't have to necessarily pay Charlie for the service.
You don't have to pay us,
yeah, this is like the most important part. You can bring your own keys if you don't trust you and you want your organization on Anthropic or OpenAI, you want that to handle this, you don't want to go to a third party, you can absolutely do this, which is remarkable. Charlie, chorus.sh is how people can try it out. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. I'm going to keep being a user and give you some feedback as well. Folks, we're moving on to we have a few more things in the kind of big companies API. I think we're moving away from Claude Opus, which I would just want to do in retrospect. In retrospect from last week, Google I.O., the biggest thing that came out from Google I.O. is VEO3, and that's what we're probably going to go next. It looks like Opus won that last week. It looks like Opus 4, at least for LLMs are concerned, at least as we are concerned, is like the highlight of last week. All right, folks, I think we're moving to talk about, we can briefly mention Mistral. I think, Yam, you mentioned Mistral agents or Nistan. Do you guys want to do like a brief coverage on this? I don't know how big. It seems like Mistral is like quietly keep shipping as well. Wolfram, if you have any thoughts on Mistral, given that like definitely Europe is their playground, they're trying to be for the GDPR compare stuff. Feel free to give us some comments about the Mistral stuff, and then we can move on to creation things, which I really want to talk about.
Yeah, good coding model is very important, and an open source and locally runnable one is cool if you don't want to open your code base. But for most the developers I know, the code is on GitHub and they use Claude Code. So they use always the best because that is where the money is. You want to get the best results so you can sell your product. So if it's a second, you just go with the best. And even that is not enough for many situations, but it's getting better. So why would you go with another one? If you make more money, then you invest in the AI stuff, and that is easy to do. Yeah, it's great to have it, but most people are probably going with the best one.
I love Mistral, but how are the agents? What's the agents product about from Mistral?
Let's take a look. Mistral released like their agentic API. Let me try to pull this up for you guys super quick.
They basically released a framework allowing you to build agents with ease.
Is it on GitHub? Yeah, but they all suck.
But it looks... What?
There's a lot of frameworks, but they all suck using the prompting Claude code. But yeah,
there are many frameworks attempting to do this. It's very hard to come up with good building blocks and developer experience, you can say, for these type of things because they're so generic. What you see here is something interesting. It's an API. This is an approach we haven't seen before. Moreover, they released the best agent model recently.
It's a different model for agents. Is it a 123B or what is it? Do we know?
No, it's not a different model.
They have
it's just an agent framework with MCP support. Yeah.
And this is like the framework that gives you the API for making agents. You combine everything, and the direction that they're taking is we want an extremely fast, powerful coding agent that is able to fetch relevant context using the embedding model. You can construct a complex agent thing through the API. I assume they train a better agent model on its own, and they are already state-of-the-art for their size. So just make it larger, and you're in the big players ballpark kind of results. And they are really taking an interesting approach here that we haven't seen before. Mistral wasn't coding specific models oriented or agent-specific models. It's a new thing. You see it only on these 1 or 2 past months. And it makes you think, like, why are they pivoting? Did they just give up trying to outperform GPT-4?
It also makes you think, where's the open source stuff? Like, they release some open source stuff, but like the cool stuff they keep to themselves, like the new embedding API that they just released, it looks like only via API as well. All right, folks, I think we're over the big companies and LLMs. We don't have like tons of time left. The only 2 things that I did mention in the big companies and APIs that we haven't gotten to is OpenAI Advanced Voice Mode started to sing finally. This was a whole big thing for me before. It didn't sing, and now it's possible, and it even sings like other folks.
We also got voice mode for Claude.
Yes, and also Claude got voice mode as well. So this is like the two main things that we want to talk about. I do want to be mindful of our guest time and chat about the creation stuff as well. So I think we're moving on to video and voice as well. Wolfram, we're going to chat after this about the Hunyuan portrait modes. But the two things that I really wanted to talk about, and Linus, here I want to tap into you here as well, is while we chatted about Opus being the king of like maybe the LLM, maybe coding LLM last week as like a big news, I feel like the ground shaken and changed significantly with VEO3. That was my interpretation of Google I/O, and then also my whole feed is now AI created like characters that look like absolutely realistic, and VEO3 is blowing up on like social media. You went to the FreePic conference as well. You talked with creators from this world as well. How did that release change this world? Could you give us a little bit?
I think a lot of people have had access for a little bit, and what's interesting now is to understand like the ramifications. There's a big event going on in LA this week as well, AI on the Lot, and you have industry experts from Hollywood, and it's just this new creative class that are like tuned in to what's going on in the world of generative AI, and we have this insane step change. From if we look back to photos and we look at DALL-E 1, DALL-E 2, we look at the earlier versions of Midjourney from Midjourney 3 and onwards, and now we look at video. The floor is so raised that we are entering potentially the largest disruptive time within visual storytelling that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And VEO3 is just like the beginning of that. And it's insane to believe that we're going to stop here. Like with the streaming kind of version of Netflix on demand, whatever you want to watch, whenever, however, that is now within grasp.
Yeah.
Like that future, we have it in line of sight.
I think the cool thing about this is that we've seen the progress from the janky Will Smith eating spaghetti, and you're probably going to use this. I'm going to definitely use this in my slides. Like we've seen the janky like Will Smith go whatever, and now you see like a realistic, very close to passing the uncanny valley, if not already passing the uncanny valley to some videos. There's definitely a few videos of VEO3 just like completely, oh shit, that's like a...
When you see the bad stuff, is of course, there's a percentage in the curve that's just, it's going to be crap. But if you look at the technology itself and you look at how much work has gone into this as well, it's just, we have seen it. But I think we're getting to the point now where like others are seeing it.
Yeah.
And industry is seeing it. They're finally waking up. And I think the hardest thing for me to grasp is like the exponentiality that we're on. I know that we're getting faster and faster, better, and that like the rate of that is accelerating. But still, I cannot understand it. When it actually starts to happen, I'm like, wait a minute, where are we? Can we pause? Can we like just take a break and see what is the ramifications of all this? But then it's just continuing.
Yep.
It's like one after the other.
So the viral moment of a month ago was ChatGPT image generation. Because people got access to this, like, creation tools and then giblifying the universe. We were giblified here on stage as well. This VEO3 thing, specifically with the prompt theory thing, which I would love to hear from you, like what the prompt theory thing is, feels like that moment for video for many people on social media as well.
Yeah.
Have you seen the prompt theory stuff? Could you tell folks like what that's about?
So it's like this guy is making all these videos where the people in the videos are just prompt steering them around and they become artificially self-aware. But it begs the question, what is consciousness? When we look back at this and look at the AGI trip 10, 15, 20 years from now and go back historically, will we say that these are the moments where models are starting to become somewhat self-aware? I think the AGI moment is not something that's just going to happen overnight and we're just going to have AGI. It's going to be something that like all of a sudden it's just there and we didn't understand where it came from and we didn't understand the signals until we can identify them. And I think there's just some weird stuff going on in the LLMs as well, like with Opus. There's just this odd sense that are we now scratching the kind of mice era? Maybe we're at the ant, because ants have consciousness, I'm pretty sure they do. Like that gradual kind of thing that we're on, maybe generative video is like where that all starts. I just find it completely fascinating that you can use natural language and a lot of compute power and generate these type of things.
I want to hear from your perspective the effect of audio. So VEO3 launched, and it has, like we talked about this last week, it has perfect lip sync, it has sound effects. I generated like sitcoms, like 90s sitcoms. It has situational awareness. Like if there's three characters, one of them is talking, the other two are looking at that character. That feels a significant jump from like just like, I don't know, Kling, for example, specifically with the sound as well involved. And that feels like world building to me at this point. So I wanted to hear from you, like from that perspective. These models feel like they're approaching like the comedian example, right? When we're like the only thing you prompt for is a comedian on stage telling a joke, and then the model comes up with the joke plus the comedian, right? Like it comes up with the visual, but also the sound.
Extremely good at filling in the blanks. If we go back to LLMs and we look like LLMs are extremely good at reading context that is not there, to read in between lines, the stuff that we humans struggle a lot with. Even when you give any LLM a little bit of background on yourself, it is so good at enriching and extracting and pulling out and creating this vast kind of picture of you that might be 95% accurate. And now I think we're starting to see the same with these video models and also world models, like the step change from just pure video. And the differences I'd say between video and world models is that like video is a predefined sequence that goes from frame 1 to the last frame, and the model knows what's going to happen in those frames. World models are different. They don't know the outcome. Like they know where to start, but they don't know where the user is going to take them, especially interactive world models. But this kind of reading in between the lines is what I think we're starting to see emergent within the video models, where you're just describing a very simple scene, but then the model is so great at filling out the expectations of what is supposed to be in that scene. And it just does it with such grace and ease. And look, we are at the very beginning of these things. I can imagine VEO5 being like...
This is the worst it's going to get.
Where are we going with this? If it wasn't for audio in this release, I don't think VEO3 would have been as explosive. I think the audio piece is very important.
The visuals are great. But they're not as much of a step change.
No. They're
as
not.
Visuals plus audio together. And folks, hopefully I will be able to play the sounds. Wolfram, please let me know if the sound plays here. I really want to show you the prompt theory one. It's like a 1 minute and a half. We definitely want to highlight this moment in time because this is crazy.
A girl told me we're made of prompts. Seriously, dude. You're saying the only thing standing between me and $1 billion is some random text?
Honestly, the biggest red flag is when the guy believes in the prompt theory. Really? We came from prompts?
You want to convince me that this perfect creation behind me is the result of ones and zeros? A binary code and nothing more? It makes no sense.
Imagine you're in the middle of a nice date with a handsome man and then he brings up the prompt theory. Yuck. We just can't have nice things.
We're not prompts! We're not prompts!
Where is the prompt writer to save you from me? Where is he?
You still believe we're made of prompts?
Anyone who tells you we're just ones and zeros is delusional. If that's all we are, then why does it hurt when we lose someone?
Vote for me and I'll ban the prompt theory from schools. There's no place for that nonsense in our lives.
For spreading the false theory that we are nothing but ones and zeros, this court sentences you to 12 years in federal custody.
I don't need some prompt god whispering in my ear to tell a story. I write what I want. I have free will, remember that?
Deny it all you want. The signs are everywhere.
You know how I know we're made of prompts? Because nothing makes sense anymore. We used to have 7 fingers per hand. I remember it clearly. Now we just have 5 fingers per hand.
Yeah, this one will make it viral. And I think it highlights this very interesting thing that, first of all, sound adds completely there. The voices and everything. But just the way it looks all realistic with the car moving and it goes and you can hear this. It adds to the realism. People are like, oh shit, did people record this or no? I found a very interesting phenomenon after all this launched is that people start posting weird actual human videos, like videos in Russian, and say, AI generation's gotten crazy, look at this video. And it's like an actual video of humans.
I think this is the funny thing, guys. I started to watch some of these announcement videos from companies from a year ago and just starting looking back at like how people behave and how people are gesturing and how they're working with their bodies. And wait a minute, that looks odder than some of these new AI-generated videos that looks way cleaner.
No.
I think we're going to get our eyes open quite wide with this new stuff. There's so many things getting popped out. There's like another video from AI or Die that's almost like 10x better than the prompt theory, and it's just like 5 days between. Yeah. You can see how people are getting into these tools, starting to understand how they work, and then they're going to become better and find tweaks to make it work. I'm pretty sure we're going to see character consistency, scene consistency, better temporal consistency across longer clips. we're just living through some very exciting times.
Yeah, VEO3 is definitely up there. Charlie, you had a comment as well?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say this reminds me of my favorite part from the Claude system card that Anthropic put out, which was when they talk about the model welfare. And the quote is, "We are deeply uncertain about whether models now or in the future might deserve moral consideration and about how we would know if they did." Like the video models are getting really good. Opus 4 is coming out and it's starting to feel sentient. It's hard not to feel a connection to these comedians talking on stage, talking about prompt theory. It's just such a weird time that this is all coalescing at the same point.
Yeah, I think the convergence is strong.
Yeah.
Like we're getting to the point where so many things are aligning towards the same point on that chart.
So I would say, while the convergence is happening, like the video models are smarter because they can like generate like the actual text or whatever. We still have like several worlds. Like we still have separated worlds. If I want to talk to LLMs, I go and talk, and it's mostly via chat, some via voice. Like ChatGPT, they can sing right now. Like it's pretty cool. You should ask it. I'm very excited about this. Like one thing, ChatGPT can sing, but I can talk to it. I can see it. There's no consistent character for me to talk about. Like here, I'm talking with Wolfram. Wolfram is over there. He has a virtual background, but I know that's a person like we interacted before. ChatGPT now has memory, like significantly adds to how I feel closer to that thing. It remembers the names of my kids. I don't have to keep reminding it the names of my kids. It remembers ThursdAI, for example. Like, there's that world, and then there's like this ultra realistic generation video mode where like characters look like somebody interviews somebody on the scene. That doesn't yet have consistent. Doesn't have yet like a character. Charlie, I'm fully with you. Like once, like the next unlock, the huge unlock will be when like those two intelligences, like Claude Opus intelligence or ChatGPT level intelligence, where it knows about me in every chat that we had, also shows up in video in front of me the way like VEO3 can generate a character.
And it's not going to be too long before it's showing up. Yeah, it's not going to be too long before it's showing up like physically in front of you in the form of a robot humanoid.
But back to like context, like I've been wearing this now for a little bit over a month. This is the Limitless AI pendant.
Limitless AI pendant, yeah.
And it's a very passive device. You don't do much with it, but it collects all the context except the context that you see on screen. Because Limitless they used to be rewind, but then they wind down, rewind. Did Limitless and did the pendant. And it's insane to me also that now with all this context, I feel like I am augmented to the point where like every day I'm getting better emotional intelligence feedback and I'm just becoming this better human. And it's also weird because back to the models themselves, like I don't know if this device, the other side of the device, the software side, if that's an it, or if it's a mirror of myself, if it's a combination of all the pre-training and the model itself on top of my data. Just to be clear, I'm generating about 50,000 words a day. And just within the first month, I'm having 1.5 million words like fused into my context. And I can query all of this whenever I want.
Yeah, I agree. I have one of those as well. And I find it a little bit annoying that it remembers to do tasks that I don't necessarily remember for myself. And the reason why I find it annoying is because I'm okay in the world where like my whole day is meetings, let's say, and there's like multiple people trying to add it to the task on me. And I'm like, the process of prioritization that I've developed with the years is like the most important ones I will remember more or get reminded for.
For actual for to-dos or like for things that you explicitly want to remember. And you're going to be able to edit those lists on your own. And also, they have an API, so if you're a bit savvy and you want to do stuff, you can essentially start creating like vocal hooks or things that you say, and then they're actionized. So like you can literally just talk out loud to yourself, and then like a whole string of things are just being like...
Mine is this, and they all have to do this. This is the B computer as well. So there's like a few devices like this. We talked about context, Charlie. We talked about context in the like chorus. We talked about memory being very helpful. I have a thing where I take meeting recordings via API and put them in ChatGPT memory because I think like this assistant will be way more better for me. It knows the stuff that I do without it, without talking to it as well. I want to move on to the next thing super quick with you, Linus, because also Odyssey came out. And Odyssey, I should show you guys Odyssey because otherwise like you won't get the full grasp of Odyssey. It's crazy. Let me see if I can show the right screen here to explain Odyssey.
Odyssey is a world model.
World model.
Yeah. And it's coming out from Odyssey ML, which is founded by Oliver Cameron. Oliver's background is that he was with Voyage before, like the self-driving stuff. Was he also with... Yeah, anyhow, he comes from, his background is self-driving. You can imagine being in that space, creating these worlds for cars to drive around, and then coming into this kind of like realization that, you know what, the next thing after these video models are fully rendered at 30 FPS, explorative worlds that are diffusion based, right? And that's what they launched.
So this is Odyssey. This is like a research preview, and you only get 3 minutes, but it's 30 frames per second worlds that you can see they're lower resolution. But Linus, like you
This gives
said,
me GAN vibes, right? So if you look back, we're in this, but they're way more temporal consistent than GANs. Yeah.
But what we're seeing here, folks, is that like I have keys. I have like WASD keys, like a video game, and there's the parking lot, for example, and there's a van on the left. I can go closer to the van, and I can go left in the parking lot. I can continue.
And then people might be underwhelmed because we've had 3D games for such a long time, and yeah, walking around in 3D worlds makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But this is not that. This is not this is not a game engine. This is all happening in the latent space within inside of a model that is like drawing out this generated world.
Infinite.
And yeah, again, I think like we're in the GAN era or early DALI territory. But we know what happened there, and we know the trajectory of that, and we can also see the trajectory of video, we can see the trajectory of audio. So I think it's just safe to say that what Feifei and the team is doing, and what Cameron is doing here with his team, we're just going to see these kind of things explode in capability. And we're going to be blown away from going from this kind of blurry view, right, that we're seeing now.
This is insane. This is somebody's house in
4K.
the latent space.
Yeah.
I'm walking through somebody's hallway in the latent space, and it's temporally consistent. You can look at the lamp, and maybe the details are not there, but compare this to the Will Smith eating spaghetti of 2 years ago.
Imagine fusing something like VEO3 with this, and give control to creators and give controls to agents. We're going to see agentic-based entertainment come out of nowhere. And it's going to be super nice because it's going to be temporal, it's not going to have all the glitches. We're going to be at the quality level where we want it. And then just the gaming industries and other things are just going to be completely impacted by this.
There will be glitches, because right now I went back and it looks like I got stuck in the doorway.
Yeah,
I can't go forward. So basically this Odyssey, and you can try this and experience that Odyssey.world. Like you said, Feifei Li has World Labs as well. She's building very similar things.
They haven't released anything.
Yeah, there is a demo thing that kind of looks like this also. World Lab that you can move through. This is streamable video. I find it absolutely incredible. Folks on stage, you had a comment as well. I would love to hear what you think about this.
The important thing to understand is that first, it's infinite. It's entertainment, but it's infinite entertainment. It can be completely custom to you. I would play this and get a completely different experience. You would play this, we get a completely different experience, and every game is unique. It's not like a single game that everyone plays. The possibilities of this, and they're going to come for sure. All right, incredible. Even if you don't want the interactivity of this, which some people don't enjoy the interactivity of games and so on, just imagine a complete show on Netflix with seasons and episodes and so on, full length, custom made for you. How does it know what would you like? It has your entire context, it has your entire memory. Everything is going to be the most interesting thing you can just think about for you. It's going to be one thing.
What the Yeah, world building, folks. Yeah, I will pause this here because my head is getting blown away.
I feel like we're
personalized entertainment is just around the corner.
It's coming. Yeah, Charlie, go ahead.
I feel like we're all missing the obvious implication of this, which is that we are prompts. Like, it's so obvious. Like, that just keeps getting better. Like, the world building keeps getting better. You can generate it on the fly. Like, it's so obvious. We just have to go one level deeper. We are the prompts.
I like that.
Charlie brought prompt theory here for us.
I don't believe in the prompt theory.
I believe
either you are prompt or you are prompter.
I will start filtering the guests on the show whether or not they believe in prompt theory. Wolfram, we'll move on because on a similar level of making these kind of worlds come to life, the characters in VEO3, you can prompt them generally. But we love this in open source as well. Wolfram, you have AIME Ravenwolf, which is like your assistant that you always talk about. And you have tried pretty much every possible open source thing out there, open source and not open source, to bring AIME to life, for example. We have two new releases from HY Video, Hunyan Video, and both of them bring high fidelity portrait video generation. So I just want to show this and move on. Would love to chat with you as well. Linus, if you have experience with HY Video, probably in your world as well, would love to hear from you as well. Let me see if I can show you the actual video here on stage. Wolfram, what's your take on this? We've been waiting for open source to catch up to this. It's not close to Hedra or Haze Labs.
Yeah, so this is by Hunyan, hard to pronounce, but they are leading what the open source video stuff is concerned, in my opinion. And they have two releases now, which is the portrait release. Do you want to bring it up, or do we?
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, so there are two, and I have made a comparison that I can show you or talk about. So for one thing, there's the portrait stuff, which is basically you take one picture and you take a video of someone's head and how they move their head and their expression and everything that is transferred onto the avatar. So that is for VR and for animations, human interactions. So basically, you take a picture, you take a video, and you get another video where that style is transferred. It works pretty much only for headshots, which is the difference from the avatar stuff, which works for full body. But here you can animate the face very closely and directly control it through the video. And it looks really good. So here we have some examples on the screen right now.
Yeah. So you have a driving video for this, right? And then you have a face or a style transfer type thing, and then you can like do acting, for example. The cool thing about this is open source.
Cool, then into the mouth.
And it has like portrait acting, it has like making faces and different things, and they compare it to like any portrait and live portrait. We talked about live portrait before. We can see.
That's pretty much excellent if you want to make some deep fakes or stuff like that, so you can just record with your phone.
This is mostly for deep fakes, right? This is not like creating a character. This is like replacing one actor with another, maybe a Donald Trump impersonator with like an actual picture of Donald Trump or something like this, right? And you can see they're really good.
They're using stable diffusion at the back end, and I think this is a first as far as I have seen, which is great for the character consistency, and it's a different approach than what the other methods are, and it's probably state of the art regarding that kind, keeping it working with the different portraits.
Yeah, in open source, we will say we have Hedra that we've tried. We have Heijen for friends of the pod as well. Heijen is definitely like breaking reality. And they launched another thing that's called Heijen Video Animate, which is
actually more exciting to me. And so here you take a picture and you take some audio. And the audio is then put on the character. You can make a music video, for example.
Your wrist catches light as for the tea.
So this is an image and audio. This is really good. Wow. For open source, this feels like state of the art for open source. So you take one image and you take audio instead of driving the video, and then you generate whatever you want, like with that audio. We can hear now Chinese.
But did you see how he moved his hand? It's not just animating the face, it's full body.
Animating background as well? No, just body, right?
It does background as well, I think.
Yeah, so it animates the world, so you can see the shadow kind of transitions here as well. You can see this.
This is amazing. It's not open source yet, the multi-character part. That is coming later than that. But this is really amazing.
Yeah. And multi-character is difficult because like most of these things you have to specify who's talking, like both in the other labs. The reason why this connects to everything else we've talked about is because this is now open source. You can build agents essentially. This is not real time right now. This needs 16 gigabytes of RAM to run, but you can build agents. You can look forward in the future where these things are live happening on your machine when you need this as well. So I wanted to highlight those two in addition to the crazy stuff that are happening. Let's talk about audio super quick. I think we're ready to close it down. So two things that we have in audio that we should mention that are new. One of them is getting released soon. I don't know if you guys had a chance to chat with Unmute, but Qt.ai is a company that we've mentioned before. And they launched Unmute.sh, which is basically their voice wrapper for any text LLM that gets text-to-speech and speech-to-text, and it wraps every Claude Opus, whatever. So we know the big labs, like we just said, Claude released a voice model, OpenAI had advanced voice mode in a while, but Unmute basically is adding the two text-to-speech and speech-to-text sides in live streaming as an SDK for you to wrap any text LLM, including open source ones. They have this as an example in Unmute.sh. I gotta wonder if I'm able to actually show this to you with sound. I think I should be able to. Let me see if I can get here. Unmute.sh. If you go to Unmute.sh, you'll be able to play with this yourself. Let's try this out. Let's connect. Let's see if this will work.
Hello, it's lovely to hear from you.
It's lovely to hear from you as well. Are you speaking in a French accent for me or German?
Oh, how wonderful to meet another person from around here.
What's your name?
My name is Gertrude. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, hi, Gertrude. Why did you switch voices on me all of a sudden?
Oh dear, I do apologize. Sometimes the system does that. It can be a bit unpredictable, can't it? Are you doing all right now?
It's very interesting. So, folks, Unmute.sh, you saw the speed. We always were impressed with Qt AI speed. You guys remember from the first time we saw Mochi on the stage? The speed was incredible. It reacts within the 300 milliseconds. Latency here is absolutely uncanny. They're about to release the models that they have for both these ends, text-to-speech, speech-to-text. They also promise they have a semantic VAD, semantic VAD. If you guys remember, we had Quindla Kramer on the show from Daily, and semantic VAD is where the voice, the model knows not only when I stop speaking, but also when I pause for thoughts, based on the semantic understanding of like what I'm saying. So that is the concept of semantic VAD, and they have this built in as well. So I really got excited about this one. Thoughts on this, folks, before we move on? You remember Qt AI Mochi? Mochi was like 7 billion parameters or something, and it wasn't that great.
The latency was really uncanny because it felt as if it was starting to speak before you were finished speaking. That was amazing. But not much came out of it, did it? I don't think it has made big splashes or waves.
It was a research preview, and it looks like they keep iterating on the work because right now Unmute looks super cool. Not open source yet, but coming soon to open source. And the second thing in voice and audio was another release from voice agent framework called Chatterbox. I'm just going to briefly show this as well.
And we need to have a table of each modality. What is open source and what is closed source, and just have it in front of us because there are so many models. You don't know which one is at what level.
So the thing that I refer to, first of all, folks refer to ThursdAI for us to tell them like what are the best models. Voice mode right now for closed source, it's somewhere between 11 Labs and Minimax, Haulia's Minimax audio. They're probably the best at like generating emotive. For open source, Kokoro probably still is dope, and it looks like this one is also, the new one is great as well. But I haven't had a chance to test this out. It's called Chatterbox. It has zero-shot voice cloning in 5 seconds of video. So this Chatterbox TTS, it's open sourced and have demo samples as well. Let's see if this is the prompt. Well, look, this is the voice control.
Yes, and you're right. You'll see me in my hotel office before you leave this evening.
So this is the voice actor, and this is the cloned exaggeration thing.
Everybody be cool. This is a robbery. Any of you fucking pricks move, and I'll execute every motherfucking last one of you.
It sounds like him as well. The thing that I'm just seeing, they're saying that if you're working on memes or videos, Chatterbox brings their content to life. First open source TTS to support emotion exaggeration control. So we're seeing exaggeration of 0.5 of this emotion. Let's see it, exaggeration 2.
Everybody be cool. This is a robbery. Any of you fucking pricks move, and I'll execute every motherfucking last one of you.
This is like very exaggerated.
Good. So. No, this is good. It like follows the prompt. This is what you asked for.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Let's try it let's do one more example. Expressive speech. This is the prompt. So prompt basically is like when you want a voice clone, you're basically going to give it like 5 seconds of your
Hope
voice.
I'm not bothering you. Just doing some stretching, maybe a few poses. You'll tell me if I'm bothering you, right? I've even been singled out a few times.
Oh, that's Stewie from Family Guy. Let's listen to this.
Introducing the next generation of refreshment. Doth beer just got bolder, smoother, and brewed to perfection. Whether you're kicking back or bathing up, it's the taste that never quits. Crack open a classic. Doth is back and better than ever.
Wow. All right.
All right.
That's great. We should be able to know this, right? We'll go back.
And like you can say whatever you want in the additional prompt, and it follows whatever text. It reads whatever text, right?
Yeah, we can try it out right now. Let's try it out right now. Let's do it. Record. Hey there, this is Alex Volkov talking to you live via this thing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Clone my voice, please. Hey there, this is Alex Volkov talking to you live via this thing. Okay, let's see. Let's run and generate. How large is the model? Yeah, I went to resemble AI Chatterbox, but I haven't seen the size. But it runs on 0 GPU, so it must, like, voice models are not big, usually. Kokoro was like in the hundreds of millions of parameters.
Now let's make my mum's favorite. So 3 Mars bars into the pan, then we add the tuna and just stir for a bit, just let the chocolate and fish infuse, a sprinkle of olive oil and some tomato ketchup.
Like, timber is my timber, but I have this thing where I have a very specific accent, and all of these models make me sound British, and that doesn't necessarily work as well. But for open source, for this quick, that was great. So this is resembles the AI Chatterbox as well. Folks, I think
I've seen that it is 0.5 billion parameters, so 500 million parameters.
Oh,
Yeah.
500 million. Super quick. Agentic-centric AI browser announcement from Opera Neon. Opera is a company that's been in the AI browser space for a long time. For those of us who are old enough to remember things before the Chrome era, there were multiple browsers in the race. Opera was one of them, always committed to a specific thing. They announced an agentic-centric AI browser, and this is the third announcement from this era of browsing. I wanted to highlight that, like, the browser game hasn't changed yet. We all browse the same. We have tabs, and we had tabs 20 years ago with AI features here and there in browsers, but mostly, and Chrome, I think, announced something like Gemini in browser, haven't changed the way we interact with the web. 3 companies that I know of now are in this race. So Perplexity has a browser you can, like, you have agents in, they can go do stuff for you. You can chat with the context of your tabs. They're testing it out. It's called, I believe it's called Comment. The browser company, the folks who built the Arc browser, have ditched the Arc browser famously, and now are working on Dia, which is their attempt at also chat with your, like, browsing thing. And now we have an announcement from an actual, like, a browser company from a while ago. And it feels to me like everybody will get into this. Like, Chrome will have to evolve as well into agentic as well. Like, you should be able to talk to your tabs. You shouldn't, like, rely on the Chrome extension as well. This is an announcement from Neon, but I think everybody else will get into this. Folks, what do you think about the future of, like, the web, given
I must say that I'm not sure why it has to be in the browser. They can create a lot of AI, but not ship a complete browser for us.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not gonna be easy to convince people not to use Google Chrome, to be honest. And I don't know. Obviously, there is a reason they're doing it. Like the IDEs, Corsair and Windsurf. There is a reason they ship a complete IDE and not a plugin or something. They cannot do the level of depth of integration unless they ship the entire IDE. So I just don't get yet the thing itself that made everyone took this exact decision, because there is something for sure. And I assume it's not just for talking to talk to your website kind of way. It's more like
there's
for
way
search
more.
and
Let's take a look
research and agentic and so on, like
There's
browser
agents,
use.
yep. There's agents that plan, browse, and act on your behalf. I think, the difference is, let's maybe put Chrome aside here. Why would you use this and not have ChatGPT do all these things for you? The next version of ChatGPT. This has you as a context. The biggest problem with browsing with ChatGPT is not logged in to where I'm logged in, right? I have you guys in front of me, and I need to do multiple actions. I need to go and invite somebody in DM, for example. ChatGPT cannot do this. ChatGPT can browse the web, give me context, answer questions. I need the thing.
But think about like Claude, not Claude Code or something too extreme, just the Claude, the app, okay? You can install an MCP that control your browser. And MCPs for power users and so on, but imagine it would be shipped with it. You have a button, control my browser, and automatically Claude can just press buttons on your screen. It's not that far-fetched.
I'm sure it will totally change how we use these computers, because usually we have some apps to do some things, or we have to learn how to use it and so on. But the thing we want to do, why not let AI do it? And I don't mean just use an app, but what is the purpose why we are doing this? And if you can have AI, really smart AI, like when you have a real assistant, you can sit them in front of the keyboard and have them do something, call somebody on the phone. There are so many ways to interact with stuff. And I'm sure all of these things will change because I'm getting frustrated even with UI often. Like right now, when I was talking about this stuff, I have so many tabs open in my browser. And when I'm working, I have so many windows and so many different tools to communicate with different people and all of this. Have it unified, have some assistants that work for you or even know what you are trying to achieve and do it. So that is, it's all going to change.
Some tasks are just not critical. There are many tasks that are not that critical. You can just send the LLM to check if you have new emails or like new emails from someone specific that you're waiting for, or what was the last thing I talked to this person. There are tasks that are clearly candidates for automation based on agents touching your computer.
I think context there is very important as well. Once these tools have the context of who I am and how I operate, and the browser has a lot of that context as well. That, I think, is going to be significantly more meaningful in the ability to do things that I want. All right, folks, I think we're at time here. We didn't get to this week's Buzz Corner, but
I have one thing to say. After we have been through all these things right now, and do you also feel we are getting a bit jaded sometimes because we are taking all these things for granted that we have seen today, and oh yeah, that's great, a new model that is one of the best. Okay. Next one. Think about 3 years ago, we couldn't have dreamed of where we are now. And even a year ago, some of those things, our jaws would be on the floor when we see what we can do with the avatars now. We are so quickly getting used to it, but the progress is there and it's still amazing and mind-blowing. And at the same time, okay, next. What will happen next week?
My promise to the listeners of ThursdAI that we will try to stay as unjaded as possible. And for the past 2 years, I think we did our job correct. We're still very excited about every piece of progress, even open source stuff. The huge ones are huge, like it's life-changing for everyone, including us. And I do think that jumps like VEO3, for example, is significant. Jumps like the Ghiblifying of the web. We all know it was possible before with like specific LoRa that was trained on Ghibli, whatever. But we noticed those shifts. And I think that if I will give ourselves a pat on the back, I think on ThursdAI specifically, we're aware of where we started. When we talk about context windows, we talk about Will Smith
8K was big
from 2 years ago. Yeah, and I think that context gives us the ability to realize how big these things are. For many folks who are not following this as closely as us, some of them is, okay, it's mind blown, and after a week, it's like riding a Waymo. Some, after a week, is, all right, folks, we're at the end of the show. The thing that I wanted to show, I didn't plan to show on this. It's part of my keynote for tomorrow, but I will definitely show because this is to highlight the difference, what we're seeing. Let me see if I can just play this super quick. I have this as a slide here. Let me just play. This is Will Smith eating spaghetti 2 years ago. This is the thing in March 2023 on the left. This is, I don't even know what that was. I think it was a progression of, I don't know, LoRa things. And on the right, VEO3 doesn't allow you to upload like a character. Somebody jailbroke this because if I tried this, like it didn't really work for me. But you can see the full consistency with characters in the eating. And there's probably also sound in there. It's just absolutely crazy. So no, Wolfram, I don't think we're getting jaded. This shit is crazy incredible.
You know what? I expect that just like we have photorealistic graphics now, and the pixel graphics has a reunion that's been remade. So I guess we will see when it's so real that we can't differentiate anymore. And it's pretty much here already. That we will also see people going back to the old stuff because it's just funny and iconic in a way.
100%. All right, folks, I think it's time to end on this. I will say in this week's Buzz, the only main thing that I wanted to give you an update for, and it's been down there at the bottom all this time, is that fullyconnected.com is our conference in San Francisco on June 18th and 19th. You have a promo code, and you can come and meet everybody from the Weights and Biases team, learn how to evaluate models, learn how to evaluate your LLM products as well, and talk to other folks who do this on production as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Wolfram, for sticking around with us with Jan. We had Nistan here before. We had Charlie Holtz. And we had Linus Egenstam, and I really enjoyed this time with you all as well. I apologize for technical issues if in the beginning. Next week, I will say, finally, I meet Jan face-to-face, and we're going to do something similar to this from San Francisco, from the biggest AI conference in the world of AI engineering called AI Engineer World's Fair. So I'm very much looking forward to next week as well. Meanwhile, thank you so much for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, everything is available at ThursdAI.news. And if any part of the show you couldn't hear as well, we're going to record everything. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to go enjoy the conference. I will tell you next week how it went and how my keynote went. And next week we'll have more guests on the show. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.